Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today we are doing something a little bit different, honestly, a bit unexpected for our source material.
Yeah, we're pulling from something really unique this time,
Right, so we are actually looking at excerpts from a language learning script. It's called The Elegant Soup Dumplings of Shanghai.
which is originally from this mock show called Taste China, Learn English.
Exactly. And, on the surface, this script is designed to teach English vocabulary to people, right? It's structured as this straightforward language lesson.
But if you read between the lines, if you look past the basic vocabulary, there is an absolute masterclass in food science hiding in there.
And that is exactly our mission today. We are totally bypassing the basic language lesson, and we're extracting the factual gold.
Because there's so much of it. I mean, we're talking thermodynamics, mechanical engineering, chemistry.
Yeah, we're going to unpack the brilliant engineering behind Shanghai's most famous dishes, master the strict etiquette you need to, not injure yourself while eating them, and explore how these really refined flavors are actually constructed.
It really changes how you look at a menu. You start seeing the kitchen as, well, as a laboratory.
Totally. So let's just start with the star of the show, the xiaolongbao, the
Yeah.
Shanghai Soup Dumpling.
Icon.
Right. And the source points out this striking visual right away. It says the dough wrapper is so thin that it's translucent.
Meaning you can actually see the light passing through it.
Yeah, you can literally see the hot soup sloshing around inside before you even pick it up. Which, okay, I need to push back on this from a physics perspective.
Let's hear it.
If that wrapper's perfectly sealed
Right.
and it's that incredibly thin, how does the chef actually get a liquid soup inside without it just spilling everywhere during the folding process?
It seems impossible, right?
It does. I mean, if I pour liquid chicken broth onto a flat, paper-thin piece of dough, the second I try to fold it, it's game over. The dough gets soggy, the seal is ruined.
It would just be a massive mess on the counter.
Exactly. So do they, I don't know, do they use a tiny culinary syringe? Like, they cook the dumpling and then inject the broth after the fact?
You know, the syringe theory is actually super common. It feels like the only logical answer when you first look at it.
Right. It just makes sense.
But the reality is so much more elegant. The chefs are using a substance called aspic.
Aspic. Okay, break that down for us.
So aspic is basically a meat jelly. What they do is they take pork skin, bones, connective tissue, and they simmer it for hours and hours.
Okay.
And that heat breaks down the collagen, the tough proteins, and turns it into gelatin.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right, so when you take that rich stock off the stove and put it in the fridge, it gets perfectly cold and it solidifies. It turns into this firm, rubbery block.
Like a super savory jello.
Exactly like that. And that is the secret. It remains perfectly solid when it's cold.
So they aren't trying to fold liquid at all.
Not a single drop. They chop that solid jelly into tiny little cubes, and they mix those cubes right into the raw minced pork filling.
That is genius. So the chef just places a solid, dry meatball onto the wrapper.
Yep, a completely controllable dry package. They can fold those perfect little pleats without any moisture messing up the dough.
And then the magic happens in the steamer basket.
Exactly. And the source actually highlights a specific vocabulary word here, liquefy.
Right.
Because when you put that dumpling over boiling water, the intense heat penetrates that thin dough. The solid aspic hits its melting point and it liquefies.
It physically transforms right there inside the sealed wrapper.
It melts back into a rich, boiling hot broth.
Man, that is just incredible culinary engineering. They've essentially created a self-contained pressure cooker.
And that pressure is actually what stretches the dough tight and makes it look so translucent when it comes out.
Okay, so the chef has successfully solved the problem of getting the boiling liquid into the dumpling. But now, as the person eating it, I have a massive problem.
You have to get it out.
Right, I have to get it out without hurting myself because I'm essentially looking at a delicious, highly delicate water balloon.
That is full of scalding hot fat and liquid.
Yeah. And the source text is very clear about the etiquette required to eat this safely.
And etiquette here doesn't just mean being polite, it's a literal survival protocol.
Because if you don't follow it, you get what the script calls the hot surprise.
Which is a very gentle way of saying you will suffer severe burns on the roof of your mouth.
Yeah, if you just pop the whole thing into your mouth like a normal pot sticker, you are going to have a bad time.
A terrible time. You have to remember there's rendered pork fat in that soup. Fat acts as an insulator, so that liquid holds onto its heat way longer than just water would.
So it's deceptively hot. Okay, let's walk through this exact step-by-step diffusal process they outline.
Diffusal process, I like that. So step 1, you pick up the dumpling using your chopsticks, but you only grab it by the top knot.
The top knot being that little gathered twist of dough at the very top.
Right, because when the chef folds it, they pinch all the pleats together at the top. It's the thickest, most structurally sound part of the dumpling.
So it's basically the load-bearing pillar. If you grab it by the translucent side.
Oh, it'll just tear immediately. The weight of the soup will rupture the dough, and you lose everything into the steamer basket.
Tragic. Okay, so step 1, grab the top knot. Step 2, gently place it into a deep spoon.
The spoon is your safety net. If the dumpling breaks now, the spoon catches all that liquid gold.
Right, you don't lose the soup, so now it's in the spoon. Step 3.
Step 3 is you lean in and you nibble a very, very small hole in the side of the wrapper.
Ah, an exhaust port.
Exactly. You have to let that trapped steam escape. It equalizes the pressure and lets the initial burst of heat out.
Okay, step 4, you sip the soup. And the script emphasizes sipping, meaning just a tiny amount at a time.
Because it is still dangerously hot. Sipping lets you slowly test the temperature and pull the broth out without burning your tongue.
Diffusing the water balloon.
Slowly but surely.
And then the final step, step 5. The soup is mostly gone. You've got this deflated dough and the meatball left. The text says to add a little ginger and vinegar and then eat the rest.
Which is such a crucial chemical balance.
Why is that?
Well, think about the soup you just drank. It's concentrated, melted pork fat and collagen. It is incredibly rich.
Heavy stuff.
Very heavy. So the sharp acidity of the black vinegar and that fresh bite from the ginger, it cuts right through the fat.
It cleanses the palate.
Exactly. Without it, you'd eat maybe 2 dumplings and feel completely weighed down. The vinegar resets your taste buds.
Man, the whole thing is just a highly delicate operation. The handling, the temperature control, the palate balance.
It demands your full attention. You really can't rush eating a xiaolongbao.
Which brings us to a really interesting pivot in the source text. We've mastered the fragile, translucent stuff, but then the script introduces us to the heavier side of Shanghai cuisine.
Right, the local everyday food known as bun bun kai.
Yeah, Ben Bung Kai. And the big cooking style here is red braising or Hong Shao.
And the classic example they give is Hong Shao Rou red braised pork belly.
Okay, so here's my question about this. The text explicitly mentions that this dish is made with a glaze of soy sauce and sugar.
A lot of sugar, usually.
Right. So wait, sugar on a savory pork belly dish, doesn't that just make it taste like a heavy dessert? Like meat candy?
I know it sounds counterintuitive if you weren't used to it, but it doesn't taste like dessert at all. That touch of sweetness is exactly what Shanghai food is famous for.
So what is the sugar actually doing if not making it a dessert?
It's acting as a catalyst for a couple of things. First, the sugar tames the really aggressive, harsh saltiness of the dark soy sauce.
Ah, so it rounds out the flavor.
Right. But more importantly, it physically transforms the braising liquid. As it cooks down, the sugar caramelizes and creates this incredibly glossy appearance.
Glossy, like shiny.
Exactly. It makes the dark chunks of pork look shiny and smooth, almost like polished wood. It's a signature visual of the dish.
Okay, so it's a visual thing.
Visual, but also textural. When the sugar reduces with the soy sauce and the melted fat from the pork belly, it forms this thick, sticky glaze.
Oh, I see.
And that creates a profound sense of richness.
The mouthfeel.
Yes. The sauce physically coats your mouth. It feels incredibly luxurious, like you're eating this really special treat.
That makes so much sense. So between the incredibly delicate soup dumplings and the glossy, rich red braised pork, you can really see the culinary spectrum of Shanghai.
It's all about manipulating texture and temperature to create these really specific, luxurious experiences.
Well, summarizing what we've unpacked today, we basically decoded the thermal trickery of aspic,
Which is wild.
truly, using meat jelly to sneak liquid into a dough wrapper so it only liquefies when steamed. Then we learned the extremely delicate five-step etiquette of sipping them so you don't get the hot surprise.
Crucial for survival.
Highly crucial. And finally, we explored how a sugary, glossy glaze isn't about making pork taste like dessert, but about creating the rich, thick luxury of red braised cuisine.
It's just a fantastic lesson hidden in a simple language script.
It really is.
Eh.
But before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to just kind of mull over.
Oh, I love these.
So the source material actually ends by asking the reader a question. It asks if you prefer a traditional pork filling in your dumpling or the creamy crab roe filling.
A very classic debate in Shanghai.
But consider it from the food science angle we've been using today. Think about the different chemical makeups of those fillings.
Okay, yeah.
You have the specific melting point of marine lipids crab fat versus the melting point of mammalian fat like pork fat.
Which melt at entirely different temperatures.
Right, so how might that difference actually change the exact temperature and the speed at which the aspic liquefies inside that delicate wrapper?
Wow. Yeah, does the crab dumpling cook faster? Does it cool down differently in the spoon?
Exactly. It's this deliciously complex bit of thermodynamics for you to ponder the next time you're, carefully nibbling the top knot off a fresh xiaolongbao.
I will definitely be thinking about that.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We'll catch you next time.